No volume. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Hey, it's been a while. It's been a couple weeks. I hope everybody's doing good. When you come in, please give me a thumbs up that you're here. Let me know that you're live. If you're watching later, a comment is fantastic, whatever. Just getting back to our lives here. We'll see how this goes. See if we're going to do this a little bit more often. I'm just using the camera here from the computer, and we're having some fun. I got to look up there. I got to remember to look up there. So I guess I need to move this up a little bit more. And I got the comment section working too here. So we'll move this over here. But we'll get started in a minute. We'll see who's coming in and get rolling like we always do here when we do these lives, which are always fun. We got such a great community here. It is about the energy. So let's see who shows up today. If anybody shows up, if everybody shows up, we'll have a good conversation. If not, we'll call it a day and move on. But always fun here on YouTube to do put out some good energy and try to do this stuff, which is always cool. Okay, there we go. So now the mail just hit. So it looks like it always takes a few minutes for these things to get rolling. So we'll wait for a few minutes to get everybody in here, and then we'll get going. Again, if you don't mind putting a comment in there where you're from, hitting that like, that gets the algorithm going so that it shows this to other people. It says, hey, Morning Coach is live, JB's live, and we get some people rocking and rolling in here. We can discuss tech devices. I do have one cool note that we want to get into, is that Onyx, there was a rumor, and it was actually on Facebook, that Onyx posted back to somebody that they are putting now screen protectors on the Onyx Note Air, which is really, really cool. So that's pretty cool. So, all right, we're counting down. Let's see if we get anybody showing up today for our live. We haven't done one in a few weeks, so I thought I would jump back on here and see if we had some people show up. And we'll see, again, if you're in the live, just go ahead and leave a comment. That would be fantastic. Then I would know you're here, and we can get rolling. Again, we'll give it a few minutes, see if anybody shows up, if this hits, and the algorithm clicks. YouTube is a real funny thing in that, and I'm learning this, like certain videos that I do, certain keywords, it shows it to everybody, and I literally get thousands of views. Then sometimes I'll do stuff and it doesn't send it to anybody. It's the weirdest thing, and it's it's all algorithm based, and that's why there's a core group of people, which is really great, that is helping with some of the videos, especially when I don't do a Remarkable 2 video or a tech, like a tablet, like a paper or something. And the algorithm clicks because people thumb it up and leave comments, and that helps a lot. So that's pretty cool. So it's obviously hitting. We've got some viewers now. Got a thumbs up. Thank you for coming in. If you don't mind just putting a comment where you're from, say, hey, what's up? That would be cool, and we will get started. And again, like I said, it's kind of crazy. It takes a while to get it out there. Hey, Greg, what's going on? Yeah, it's, the YouTube thing, I'm just figuring it out. Alan, what's going on, brother? I'm trying to figure this thing out. And I think you saw it in my video yesterday. You can sense some of my frustrations in trying to figure out how this thing works, as far as the way it's, it sends some stuff out and other stuff it doesn't. It's so weird how some stuff it shoots out to everybody, and then other stuff, literally nobody sees it. And I think this live's a good example of that, because it's trying to find it is such a hard part. Aloha from Hawaii. It's good to see you. So it's really crazy. So sometimes we get going. Hey, QuirkLogic's and on the live. Good to see you today. So it's a weird dynamic with this algorithm and the way YouTube is working. And so I'm really trying to figure it out. Hey, and Tampa's in the house. Ziggy, good to see you. Good to see you. Andrew from Los Angeles, from LA. Good to see you. So figuring all this stuff out is so wild. Christoph, good to see you. Hungry, good to see you. People are coming in. Francisco, good to see you. Hola from Mexico. So a couple things. Alan's on. Alan, I think you're still there, which is great. Francisco from Mexico, hungry. Great to see you, Andrew. So we're just having this conversation that it's weird with YouTube and the algorithm and how they share things and the way that it gets out there. You know what I mean? I'm trying to figure out this whole YouTube thing, and it's really, really weird. It's just goofy. But I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you guys are here. Couple new notes. The paper device, QuirkLogic, who actually is, checked in here, they do have the nibs now in for the pen. We did have a couple complaints. They're a little bit, the pricing's a little bit high. Cool, Alan. Pricing's a little bit high, as some people have noted, but they are working to get the cost down. But at least now they do have pins and nibs in for those of you that were worried about not being supported with that. Alan, I found this really interesting for you because I know you love the Onyx product. So on Facebook, I thought this was really interesting. In one of the groups, somebody posted, I'm having trouble with the screen protector. And I like my Note Air now that I put the paper-like screen protector on. It's really great. But putting the screen protector on is like almost impossible. So I've always said, why don't they do it at the factory? So it looks like they are now doing that at the factory, which is pretty crazy. So they're going to be, they said some of the Note Airs that are shipping right now, some of the Onyx products, they're actually putting that on there. Yeah, Supernote. Greg says Supernote is coming out. It's really interesting. I'll show you something. I'm having a little issue. This is my A5 unit, and I'm talking to them. Maybe one of you guys can do something. I'm charging it, but the thing won't turn on. They are sending me an A5X next week. They have told me that at least. You know how it is. We'll see when it gets here. They've been really great and responsive. But for some reason, I got this one it's been a couple weeks. I purchased this, and I can't get it to turn on. And maybe it's going now. No, but it goes red and then blinks for 5 times and doesn't do anything. It's the weirdest thing. So I sent this over to their marketing to see if they could look into it for me because I actually bought this. I don't know if anybody else is having that issue with Supernote, but that was interesting. First rule of the algorithm is don't talk about the algorithm. Right, Alan, I know it is, really. And yeah, same thing. I can't put the screen protectors on these devices. It's just brutal. So now they're going to do it at the factory, which I think is a good thing. Maybe they have issues with it too. That's why they weren't doing it at the factory, but that is a good thing. So Supernote, they communicate well. I did that customer service video, and between the two, QuirkLogic and Supernote, they're great. So I might have got a bad battery in this thing. I'm trying to figure out why it's not charging. It's a weird thing, but no, most people aren't going to buy the A5 anyway. So it's just a weird deal that I've been dealing with the device. And then the negative on the Note Air is trying to get the screen protector on. So that is getting resolved, which is a good thing. Remarkable 2s are shipping. People are getting them in. It's really interesting, the feedback, because they are such a great marketing arm. And again, this is one of those devices that I think is a dream. I wish the QuirkLogic software is on it. Even though I'm liking the QuirkLogic more and more, I'm liking the paper more and more. The feel is very satisfying. The writing is very satisfying. I use it every day. But it's interesting to hear the comments on the Remarkable 2. My really good friend got his in finally here. And he likes it. He loves it. And he just uses it for notes, right? But that's about all you're going to do with this device. But I think the one that's really competing the most is obviously the paper's doing good. A lot of our viewers like it. But the Note Air has really taken some market share from these guys. And justifiably so. It's a great device. I like my Note Air. It's just, Alan's a big Onyx guy. It's a challenge to utilize it day in and day out. There's just a lot of complexity to it, which makes it a little bit harder. But it's great to see everybody. If anybody's got any questions, please go ahead and put them in the comments. I'm just here kind of riffing today. We've been off schedule with the lives, and I'm again, like Alan says, it's the first rule of the algorithm. Don't talk about the algorithm. But I got to do things that are very efficient. This isn't my business. My business is speaking, coaching, writing. I've got a couple new books out. I've launched a new course, and this is so funny. This is what we call the phone book. Our Get It Done Now 2021 planner is in place. But look at this thing. Talk about killing a few trees. That's every single day. So I have to go back, and this is actually selling on Amazon, doing a pretty good job, but I got to make it into quarterly, undated. These are dated, right? So I'm going to do a quarterly planner with all my instructions in it. It's a little bit easier to use, and I don't know what, $8 or something, but I'm going to get that done for people that want paper, and the PDFs came out great. So they're working on the devices really well. In fact, that's what I got on the paper. You can see my split screen. I think I've mentioned it before. On the left side, I have my daily planner. On the right side, my notes. And again, you don't have to use any of these things. You can use whatever you want, but it really does work well this time of year for planning. I think these devices are fantastic for planning. Personally, I love the split screen functionality, and the Air does it too. So there's some cool functionality in there for those of you with Onyx. The Remarkable is just a beautiful device. I mean, it's a beautiful device, but I think it's interesting. Like I said, some people that are very minimalistic absolutely love it, and other people are a little frustrated by it. And of course, their customer service is not the best, and trying to get the devices has been a real problem this year. Okay, so Greg says, I tried the paper-like feel protectors on the Note Air, but the glare is so much worse than the protectors on that now that I've settled just riding on it, no bare glass. You know, and that's what I think a lot of people do. Alan, I'm not sure if you can mention, oh, I got to sneeze, so I'm going to drink some water. What you're doing, are you just on glass? The paper feel one I got doesn't glare too much. I got it over in the studio, but yeah, it's finding that right combination of screen protector and glass is the hard thing with the Note Air. Greg, you're somebody that's into this too, so I would assume that you like the Onyx products and all the functionality, and you probably set yours up pretty good. Hey, Brian, what do you think about the Remarkable 2? You love it, or are you utilizing it, or where are you at with it? I would like to know how you're feeling about it, and let me know in there if anybody's new, like with their new products. Please let me know how you think. Okay, Alan goes bare. Alan's a bare screen person. And like I said, I have on both my Onyx books, Lumi and my Note Air, I have put that on there, which works. And you use the Stadler Jumper Stylus. So do I, if I'm using that device. That's what I'm doing. So Brian got his RM2 last week. Pretty interesting to see that. So it's interesting to see how you feel. Again, I use my RM2 primarily for note-taking, brainstorming. I do like the device. It's just a paper. Literally, this is a paper replacement for me. So I don't have much paper on my desk anymore. That's what I use this for. But I do love the layers feature for those of you that are using it as a planner. It does work for that. And I think the Note Air and the Lumi are great devices. It's just, I just tend to use the paper more, as you guys know, because it integrates into my workflow. But those things work well. But Brian, I'd love to hear what if you get a chance, put in the comments, how do you like it? You're enjoying it. Okay. Use it iPhone and sending websites to RMA. Okay, cool. So, oh, you're sending websites to read. Okay, cool. So it's working for you. That's the main thing. I think the RM, the one thing we got to give remarkable credit to over all these companies at this point is their marketing. They do such a great job marketing. I think they have really revolutioned e-ink. I don't think we would all be here watching this right now if it wasn't for Remarkable's push of getting people over to the e-ink kind of world, right? So everybody's benefiting from their marketing. The issue is that, and nobody on here, but the issue is a lot of people get it that are brand new and they think it's an iPad. And we all know these devices are not an iPad. The iPad is the iPad, right? The iPad is a totally different device. Now, with that being said, you guys, Brian and Alan, the Onyx group, right? That thing can do a lot, and I'm learning more and more, especially with that new reader they got on their Neo reader. That thing's a pretty cool device. It still will not replace my iPad because of everything that I do, but it is a great device. I'm still one that looks for the planner, note taker. That's primarily what I'm using it for, and that's why the paper works for me very well. And yeah, Brian says the simplicity is his strength, and I agree with that. And that's what, like I said, that's what a lot of people don't get, is if you're expecting an iPad for it, it isn't. It is a supplementary device. And I think what happens with these e-ink devices is a lot of people get frustrated with them because they're looking to kind of get their laptop, or they can only afford one or the other. And that causes an issue, right? Because they're like expecting it to do so much, and then it only does these few things. And so e-ink takes the hit. When in truth, it's really a supplementary device to our workflow. And as a productivity coach and somebody that helps people in that area, it's really important to have the things, the tools at your disposal. And the iPad just doesn't do what these devices do. It can, you can throw the screen protector on there, but it still isn't the same thing as that mental connection that you have to paper. I do find it interesting that most of the people that are coming on board and watching a lot of the videos are 40 years old and plus. I don't know if the younger people are totally into ink. We get a few stragglers once in a while, but it sure seems that it's a lot of people. I'm 51. So, I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and, I had to go to the library. Paper was a big part of my life, Xerox machines. I'm an old Dungeons and Dragons guy. I got all my old books down there, and we used to do our character sheets and the maps, and Starfleet Battles was the other game. We used to have a table with the map and everything was, paper back then. So it's really interesting where we're at in the world today with these devices and how they work and what they, what they do with them. Brian says he's working with students with attentional disabilities and learning disabilities. This device is simple and easy to use. You know what? I think, and there's something to that. I mean, I'm not going to get into mental health and disabilities today, but I'll tell you, I have, and I'm not diagnosed, and I'm not a big labels guy, right? I don't like to talk about labels. I think, back when I was in elementary school, they labeled me as somebody that had speech issues. And so they used to pull me out of class, take me up into the gym. It was so embarrassing. I got held back in third grade. It was really challenging as a third grader. Had a lot of struggles. I think it's what made me today, because I don't really, I got a thick skin, because you have to have a thick skin. I was in a third, fourth grade class, and they used to pull me out of that class and take me up. I'll never forget it, that long walk to the gym, and I had to go up these stairs, and I was in a little special room with a speech person, and they're saying I'm never going to speak properly. I mean, that's how I make my money now, which is pretty crazy. So I'm not a big fan of labels per se, right? Because we all have our own issues that we're dealing with. But my brain, talking about a mental health thing, really has a problem with staying at, ADD kind of thing, where it's all over the place. And so speaking of that, these devices actually work real well for the way my brain works. And I think that's the thing. What's so funny, like people that are really left brain, I think that Onyx platform really helps them, where people that are a little bit more right brain maybe and just are a little more creative and don't want all that technical aspect, the Remarkable kind of works for them. So I think that's what's cool about this, is finding, especially dealing with people that have learning disabilities, which I think is fantastic, Brian, and thank you for doing that. Getting them the proper tools to help them learn is awesome, right? Just like me, there were things in school that I wasn't very successful with because I can't sit still. So when I would, and I never was on Ritalin or everything because we didn't have it back then. I just was the kid that was always in trouble, getting, he can't pay attention. And so when I finally got into my MBA and my PhD studies, it was so much easier for me because it was so condensed and it would hold my attention. We would do 4-hour classes, and they would all be based in this one particular area. So my brain works a little different. In fact, I've just now learning at 51 that that actually stimulates, like caffeine sometimes, like a cup of coffee or half a can of Celsius, actually settles me down. And it's weird because I found that on the golf course, and now I've applied it to my life here, that I have these kind of dark stages where even me with this super high energy comes down really hard. And the reason is my brain kind of slows down and it gets kind of trying to find some stimulation. So by me having a cup of coffee or a little bit of a stimulant type of drink, like a Celsius, it just makes me happy. It just gets me at my brain in a great spot. So I love that, Brian. Thank you so much for helping people. And I think that's part of these devices, is digging in a little bit deeper and understanding our learning modalities and how we work. And I find it so funny when people are in their camps, like they get in their camps. I'm in the Remarkable camp, and they get that cognitive dissonance where it's like, I bought this and it is the best device in the world, or you get an Onyx camp, it is the best device in the world. And the truth is, all of our brains, work in a different way. We all have different makeup, different chemistry. And so when, figuring out what device works for you, hopefully my channel can do a little bit of that, because we get excited about some functionality, but then if it doesn't work for you, then it's just actually, it's a stressor, right? So somebody like me, I don't know if you watched the video it's about, 3 or 4 videos ago. I'm like, what should I sell? Because literally I have this stack of devices and my brain was going crazy because it's like, which one should I use? Which one should be my main thing? And that's when I decided, look, I'm in the paper system. I'm utilizing the, QuirkLogic Quilla in my business. I'm using it for a lot of things. I'm going to stick with that as my primary machine. And then I'm going to use my Remarkable 2 as my note taker, and then play around with the other devices, but not, have them so solidified in my workflow. With that being said, I really want to see the A5X and see how that works, because I think that's a direct competitor to the big market, which is the Remarkable 2 and the Note Air. And the A5 is fine, but I really am anxious to see the A5X and what Supernote's doing with their devices. Greg says, I've done a lot of work as a personal assistant and skills trainer for people with developmental and intellectual disabilities, and it's way better now than it even was when I was a kid at 30, near 33. Yeah, it is. I think we need to discuss that. Like, I don't know why there's such a stigma about mental things that are going on with people. We all have issues. I mean, every one of us has issues. I think the utopian idea, and this comes from a motivational guy, right? The utopian idea that we're all going to have peace and happiness is an issue. You know, we're studying Viktor Frankl right now in my courses. It was a book study this month, Man's Search for Meaning. And a big one that I've jumped on is Viktor Frankl is saying we need to go to the future. Like, that's his logotherapy thought. Instead of thinking about the past, let's move to the future. And goals are really critical. And actually stress is really critical, because that is what's going to push us forward. Where when we just focus on comfort and we don't study ourselves and try to figure it out, we try to find just peace and pull back to Zen and Wusa, right, and just have peace, it actually harms us. So I really appreciate Viktor Frankl's work, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard of, who was a Holocaust survivor and developed his kind of Freudian kind of connection, like, you know, challenge to Freud with logotherapy and the way things are, which is really interesting stuff. But yeah, it's getting way better. I think we are moving forward. I still worry about labels that people put on people because that can hurt them. And I just think we all have the potential to do things. We just got to realize we all have limitations and strengths, all of us. I still believe everybody's a genius. I love that quote. What is like, have a fish climb a tree. We got to find what we do good and then plug into the systems that help us. It's awesome. FEA says, I have the Note Air. I love it and bought it primarily for the AI feature to convert my handwriting to text into text. I use original screen protector. It is possible to install it bubble free. It is possible. It is possible if you are awesome in that area. I love it. And no, that is a big one, right? The converting handwriting to text. That's one of the things I get a lot on the paper. When are they going to add that? And I know QuirkLogic is watching this. Maybe it'll be part of their pathway. But I think you guys that use Onyx, I don't do that because my handwriting is kind of like a doctor. It's nasty, fast, horrible. It is hard for it to convert it. But I think that it does have the best handwriting to text version that we have right now. I think it's even a little better in the iPad for me. At least what I've tried. I don't know if you guys are using the OCR stuff. Are you guys doing anybody here that's using it? Would be nice to kind of jump in here and tell me. Again, if you got any questions, just throw them in the comments. This is a free-for-all. I do this because I love it. The one thing I was talking about when we were talking with Greg earlier is that I in the kind of comments of my last videos, like, do you hate marketing? I don't hate marketing. I just think there's a lot of fluff out there, and I do things because I love to do them, and I'm having fun, and I'm going to continue to do them. So that's really a key part of this, and I'm going to keep doing that, and hopefully the algorithm clicks once in a while. But as Alan says, we don't talk about the algorithm. It's like Fight Club. There we go. QuirkLogic just jumped in and said OCR and ICR are text features that are on the roadmap for 2021, which is fantastic. And I think they can do it pretty easy. I won't speak for them, but I know there's some third parties. But I can tell you about QuirkLogic. One thing I can tell you from talking to their team, they don't just want to do stuff kind of halfway. If you look at their 1.1 software update, it was a real software update. It wasn't like, let's just add a comma and a period to something or give you capital letters or add a font. It was literally a big update. And I mean, the split screen for me just changed my life. I didn't even expect the ability to take the toolbar off on each side. And so that was pretty cool. I mean, our roadmap there is going pretty good. Like I said, they got the nibs in, they got the pencil in, so that support is there. Little pricey, and they know that. Got a couple complaints, but it is what it is, right? They're just getting going. They're kind of a new guy in this area. So it's going to be interesting to see what they would do with their updates coming into the first of the new year. Alan says, I don't often convert my notes to text, but do use the handwriting input keyboard frequently, and it works surprisingly well against my atrocious handwriting. That's cool. See, and that's where the Onyx comes up with some Bluetooth stuff that's cool, too. That keyboard inputting is really cool. I use my iPad for that, but having that additional monitor capability and those things is really great. That's awesome. Hey, for those of you joining and aren't on the live, thanks for watching and supporting the channel. If you don't mind putting the thumbs up, it helps with that nasty word that Alan said earlier, the algorithm that we're trying to get this out, but you know, there's a lot of people that don't know what we do and what we're doing. By the way, but we're hitting 12,000 subscribers, which is fantastic this week, and I wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't for you guys. So I appreciate you. It's awesome. Are there cloud services on the Paper RM2? Yes, they are. Backish asks, hey, there's Beth. Beth is in the house. Hey, Beth, good to see you. So yes, there are. RM2 has their own cloud service. And one thing I do like about the Paper, which is really cool, is they hook up to Dropbox and Google Drive. I actually use Google Drive a lot. The Paper system, you have to look at the entire framework of their system when you're deciding what you're going to use. Hey, thanks for those thumbs up, guys. You've got to look at the entire framework of what you're going to use it for. They each have, like I said earlier, they each have good things, bad things. If you're not somebody who wants to dig into a device and really work with it, then the Onyx is not for you. If you want to dig in and really figure out a lot of stuff, it works great. Remarkable 2, very simplistic software. Beautiful device, piece of art, very simplistic software. But yes, has cloud services their own. Remarkable is a very unique company. I mean, they're very isolated. I like a little Apple. If I had to say who Remarkable's like, kind of do their own thing. They're like a little Apple. Great at marketing, very quiet about what they do, and they don't really, doesn't really work that well. So that's it. And then the other companies are, you know, like I said, I think the best as far as watching and listening. I gave QuirkLogic the #1, and they're here watching this right now. So they're watching the issues you have, and they usually respond pretty quickly. They're doing the best they can. Supernote does a great job too. Beth says, Beth says, Dropbox hook still does not work for me. I don't know why that is. You reach out to them and see. I have not tried Dropbox because I'm a Google Drive person, but Beth, yeah, we'll have to figure that out. Brian says, I really like the Paper when I'm teaching online with the syncing of the workbooks. Yeah, that's for me as a teacher. Like my first job, my real job is a coach. You know, for 30 years, I've studied personal development. That's what I do. And, you know, I don't like the egoic stuff, but I did my MBA, PhD, and, you know, I've worked for 30 years to put a game plan to help people. That's what I do. And I coach every single day. So, you know, that's why it fits into my world so well. It's educational. And I can't wait to do some of my events live again once we get through this COVID thing. One of my really good friends here in Florida just got the vaccine shot, which was interesting, wherever you stand on that. And he's a frontline doctor, so that was pretty cool. But the ability to use that board, and then it's just going to revolutionize a lot of things that I'm doing, but I got to get to that next stage, which is great. All right, we got some people showing up. I love it. You know what? It's weird with this algorithm. YouTube, come on, get this out to everybody. Let's get it out there. Thanks, Beth Ann. Yeah, and I knew you were talking about the Paper with that. QuirkLogic is watching, so, you know, maybe we can reach out. Maybe there's something going on we can fix there together, Beth, to make that happen. Marcus says, is it necessary to get a screen protector for the Paper? No, that's one of the great things about the Paper. I think, personally, that the writing experience is awesome. Negatives, and QuirkLogic is watching this, right? But the negatives, you have to charge this pin. Like the problem is that some people, and I've gotten comments that they've been out and the pin ran out. And guess what? Nothing you can do. So it's not the be-all, end-all device. I'm not here to say, go buy the Paper, right? I'm never going to do that. That's just, that's not what I do. I'll tell you what I do with it and the weaknesses. It feels great. It's really worn on me. The 1.1 update made it faster. I noticed no lag, even though the Remarkable is super fast. It just feels right. And the problem is, sometimes I got to plug it in the morning. They're working on this, right? And then sometimes the battery, you know, gets low on this pin. It doesn't happen very often, but if you're somebody that travels a lot, you know, you got to take your charger with you, because the last thing you can do is have a device that doesn't work without the stylus, right? So that's just a negative for me. But yeah, the positive is the screen is really scratchy. There's two nibs for it. There's one is a darker nib, which is called a pen nib. One is the pencil, which is the gray nib. I personally love the gray. It just feels like, I mean, it just feels good. There's something tactile about it. And the positive of this, I do like the erase feature on the stylus. So we'll give that a thumbs up on that, all right? And the highlight I don't use, but the erase feature. The one thing I know is on their roadmap that I think would really make this device better is a PDF reader. Their PDF kind of workbook situation is the best. There's no software out there that it's just awesome. But if we can get a true PDF reader for books and stuff, it's going to be solid. And I know they're working on that. So it's great. But no screen protector needed. Moises, hey, Moises, good to see you. He says, hey, JB, I returned the RM2 after a week. It's a great device, but as a current student, the iPad or Android tablet is the best way to go. I do miss it, but rarely used it and found I was using the iPad more. Live beta worked great on Zoom classes. Awesome. Yeah, I would say that's the issue for a lot of people is like, again, depending on what you're doing and what your game plan is, the iPad sometimes overtakes some of these devices. That's what I find for me. And I did get, if you see the Stylus, for those of you that got these Stylus covers, it does make a difference. I think it's a good investment. It actually protects the nib on your iPad pencil, and it feels a little bit better, at least for me. It's not fantastic, but it does feel a little bit better for you that are doing that. So thank you for that. Yeah, and that happens with some people. Kobe Guy, good afternoon, man. Good to see you, brother. I'm glad you're in here. Thank you, as always, for the support. Hey, thank you, everybody, for the support. I mean, the way this channel grows is by you guys. I mean, this is a community. I keep saying it's a community more than a channel. I don't mean that as word service. I'm trying to build people coming together and helping each other, which is what we have. Also, the nibs are available at QuirkLogic. Yeah, I was saying that, which is great. Andy's coming in. This is awesome. Please go ahead and say hello, where you're from. A thumbs up is great. If you don't mind hitting that little like button wherever you're at. And any questions you have, just throw them out there. We got all kinds of stuff going on. The latest device that will be coming in the next week or two is the A5X from Supernote. They just reached out to me today. They say it's coming. I've been having a little bit of problem with my A5, but they're a great communicator. We'll work it out. It could be me. I don't know if it's charging right, but things happen with these devices, and they've been very responsive. So I'm really interested to get that in there. We're gonna see how that goes. Okay, so IT, QuirkLogic. Oh, wait, Andy comes in, and then I'll go to QuirkLogic. Andy says, hi, Andy. Good to see you from Texas, man. Gifting a BOOX Note Air to myself. Good for you. Heard a lot about the screen protector. How do we know the factory's installing it? And is that a special request when ordering? When did you order it, Andy? I would yell at them. I would scream. I would send Pony Express to China and say, please send me one with the screen protector on it. This is all based on a Facebook post where somebody had sent an email to them and it said, is a screen protector going to be put on the factory? And they had mentioned to her that yes, the screen protector is on some of the devices that are shipping now. So I would make that request, Andy. I don't know if you've bought it yet, but I would send them a request with your order and say, will you please put the screen protector on? It will make it so much better for you. Okay? And please, questions, keep them coming. QuirkLogic comes in and says, EPUB PDF Mobi Reader is in development, coming soon. I knew it was. I've been screaming at them because I'm giving the Onyx Max Lumi. It's got the light, but it has the ability to have a bunch of different readers, the kind of the best in the academic journal area. It's a big device. You can put it on your desk. You can read everything. But this is a big device too. And if it had that reading capability, watch out. I mean, I'm telling you, they're going to have a fighter here. They're going to have a heavyweight contender at that point. They really need to fix their highlighter options in the next update. I cannot anoint very well. Yeah, let them know. I'm sure that's something they can. I know that the Fujitsu Quaderno kind of did the straight line. And I think it's either there or there kind of thing with this. Like, do you want it to catch the text? The thing is, remember, so here's on the Quaderno. I'm going to tell you the difference from what I remember. On the Quaderno, you could not use the highlighter in regular notes, okay? Because it picked up the line of text. But you could use it in the other devices. So I'll let them deal with that, but that's the problem. So if you take that, at least from what I saw, so if you either have the highlighter everywhere, which isn't as straight and is kind of different, or you've got to only limit it to certain areas because it doesn't work. But again, QuirkLogic has listened. They're great. I'm sure they'll do the best that they can in the future with that as they continue to build their roadmap for their device. Greg says, happy with the Note Air, but we're watching the Reddit company more involvement. Supernote, it's decent hardware specs. I think there's potential there for development of good optimized apps. Yeah, I think, Greg, it's going to be interesting with the A5X. I haven't looked in it too much, but I know it's running Android. So they're going to be able to do pretty much what Onyx does, right? And more than Remarkable does. So they could be a competitor. I have not used their device as much. I had the A6X. I didn't use it at all except keep it by my bed, and I don't need it. So I sold it on eBay, ordered the A5 because they told me they're going to say the A5X so that I could look at that and test it out. I've had that for 2 weeks, but the battery is not, I have a bad unit or something, and they're working on that with me. So I'm really interested to see the A5X to see what happens and what we can have in this world. But Greg, yeah, I appreciate that. Is it Chevin? Hey, good to see you from France. Nice. You got your DHL notification from RM2. That means your device should be coming pretty soon. And I would love to hear on the channel how that's going to work for you in your workflow. Does it work once you get it? Again, it's a piece of art. I love it, but does the software work for you? Andy says he hasn't ordered it yet. Okay, fantastic. I would, when you order it, I would tell you, can you please ship me one with a screen protector? You may be in a place where they're sending them all now with that. I'm going to get more news on that. They don't communicate with me like other companies. I will do my best to get that answered for you. Okay. QuirkLogic has great customer service. VM says, yes. Andy says, thanks for the tip. We'll do that when I place the order. Your content is great and have been a great resource for me. Great, Andy. I'm glad it is. You know, I try not to play favorites with anything. I mean, e-ink is like the thing that has built the channel to 12,000 subscribers. For this thing to get to my goal of 100,000 plus, I've got to make it more entertaining and obviously expand from that. Continue to do this fun stuff. But I've got to also add some content that is going to be relevant to people outside this. I have Alan knows this, I have a system that I use called ILD, a kind of a spreadsheet way that I organize. We do it. It's called Financial Fridays. It's part of all my courses. I'm going to do a video on that soon because I did one like 8 years ago and it got like 100,000 views. I think there's some people that may want that, and it helps really organize your finances, and it's an easy way to do it. I'm going to share that with you guys pretty soon. Bacchus says, would you have used the Onyx device instead of the paper if you had it before the paper? By the way, I'm from India. Hey, good to have you here. We hardly have any devices available here, but researching for when I get my hand on one. So just as a note, I did have an Onyx product before. I had an Onyx BOOX Max, a remarkable one, and a iPad. That was how I started the channel. I did a video on that. Not started the channel. I've done all kinds of stuff on this channel, but it just never took off. But I did a comparison of the iPad versus the Remarkable versus the Onyx BOOX Max. And what ended up happening was I used the Onyx BOOX Max 2 for a little while and just wasn't using it. I was using the iPad and the Remarkable, so I ended up selling it. So I wouldn't say that I would use the Onyx before the paper. What the paper does is the collaboration and the way the workbooks and sharing does. It just works for me and what I use it for, right? So I'm not saying that if I wouldn't have used it if the paper didn't exist. I didn't even know the paper existed. Like, it was crazy. One of the subscribers said, hey, JB, check out this new company out of Canada. They got this paper device. So I ordered it, and I knew it was kind of on the Sony framework, and it worked. But what really got me was they had a already existing software system in place that was developed for their Quilla, which made it work. Hey, Alan, we'll see you later. Thank you for supporting and being here. And so once I saw that, I hooked into their software, and that's what really hooked me. So that's the difference between kind of the Onyx. QuirkLogic, and you got to go check out what they do. You can download their app and stuff. They have a little bit of a different system than everybody else, and I think that's the selling point. Is it perfect? No, it's not. But if you collaborate, the device kind of grows on you. There's some issues, best having one, but they work on their issues. Like, the device just came out in June. So it's nice to see them always updating. Like I said, their updates are pretty spectacular. They really put some time in. So I think each of them have their own kind of places to fit. And I know it's hard when you're shopping. It's like, well, just tell me which one to get. So for collaboration and general day-to-day, I love the paper. For just note-taking and paper replacement, I love the Remarkable 2. It's just great. If you just want something to replace paper, it's great. It's not going to be your iPad. If you want a multi-function device that may replace your iPad and you want a device, I would go with the Onyx. I mean, that's it. It's just a kind of a pain, but the light in there and stuff is great. So that's kind of where I would guide you. And then Supernote's in there. So the problem is Supernote, I just haven't had enough time with it. And when I get my A5X, I will spend more time. And like I said, the A5's kind of down right now. It's having a little bit of an issue. And once I get it, I don't want to discredit Supernote at all, because their styluses are the best. They have these, they have a different way they do things, and their styluses are amazing. They're a contender too. So all these devices are pretty good. There isn't one be all end all though. I'm not going to give one a heavyweight champion for sure. There's Bank Guy. Hey, brother, the only thing I miss about the Note Air is the front light. Do you use any type of reading light on your devices? Oh, and you rock, dude. No, I don't. You don't. Hey, you guys are going to laugh. Don't laugh. I used to be a night owl. I used to be a partier, man. I could stay out all night. I go to bed at 8:30, 9 o'clock. So I literally usually shut it down pretty early. And the only device that I'm using at night typically is this, which is my Kobo Forma. That's my typical reading device. So no, I don't do a lot of stuff at night. I shut it down. I'm a guy that gets up at 5:30, 6 o'clock. I do my podcast first thing every morning. Typically try to go for a run or train. And then when I get back, I get my podcast done. And then I do a little bit of writing. And then maybe try to figure out what I'm going to do on YouTube. Play golf. I try to play golf almost every day. Go hit golf balls. And so I'm full all day, right? And so like today, I'm cranking. I got up this morning, did the podcast, sent an email out, did a marketing email, and then, ate some lunch. Now I've got to go to a meeting with Active Campaign to look at some of my email stuff that we're redoing. I'm hiring a new social media person, which is scary. It's something I've never really done. And then I'm going to be going over to hitting some golf balls, coming back and kind of working on the landing pages and stuff that I'm doing for my new Get It Done Now, where I give away the program at the start, and then there's a video that sells the program. So that's kind of what I do all day. So I shut it down probably about 5:30, 6 o'clock, and I go watch. Tonight I'll watch football. I'm a Raiders fan, unfortunately. I'm an Everton soccer fan, and the only reason I'm an Everton soccer fan because of Colombia. I have places in South America, so I'm a big Colombia soccer fan. So I watch a little bit of stuff, and I'm really into horror movies. I know that's really goofy, but I love horror movies. So I watch a horror movie or some football or something and crash out. So why don't I not need a lighted device? In the morning I could because I'm up at 5. It's dark for about 2 hours. But typically at night I'm crashed out and I'm reading some fiction work at that time. But man, that's such a great question. I don't miss it. But I'm not traveling like I used to. I'm not on airplanes, right? But I'll probably have my iPad at that time when I'm traveling again. Greg says, I don't know if anyone else has this problem, but the Onyx handwritten recognition, but it cannot follow a row of my handwriting. It always jumps between 2 rows and mashes them together into nonsense. Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question for everybody here. Like I said, my handwriting's so bad, it doesn't even like it. I'm anxious to see what if the paper can do it, it'll be a miracle. Like I said, we'll have to, it'll become a religious device at that time if it can do that, because there's definitely some type of spirit in it if it can translate my handwriting. I can't even read it sometimes. A funny story, I used to substitute teach as I was going through college, and I did second grade one time, and a little Sarah, I was writing on the board the assignments, and the little girl up front was all shy, and she's, Mr. Glossinger. I said, yeah, what's up, Sarah? What can I do for you? And it was like a 3-week gig. I was in college, and the teacher was gone for a while. She goes, I can't read your handwriting. Do you mind if I write it and you tell me what you're saying? And I'm like, get up here, Sarah. So I literally had the second grade, couldn't read my handwriting. So that tells you where I'm at with OCR. So not good. But some other people, if you can put in the comments, that would be great. Itis, good to see you, man. Just turned in turned in after Pence Life. Oh, that's cool broadcast. I'm in the UK. Good to have you, man. It's good to see you. Appreciate you. Have you kicked all your equipment? It's all out. No. I'm still rocking it. I love the Heart of Metal from what I see. Yeah, I agree. They've done a great job with their stylus. He's talking about the Supernote stylus. Really good. Hey, if you need a web designer, give us a call, a bell. I love that. I will. Here's a question. I love horror gore movies as well, but when I see real operations or a needle, I can't watch. Go figure that. You know what? I've finally gotten over that. I was the same. Like I couldn't even do I couldn't do it myself, right? And I used to be that way, but I'm finally overcome that. But I know that feeling. It's so weird. Like the blood just it's like, what's going on with that? But yeah, I had that issue for a long time. I've had my psychological issues, believe me. But yeah, I got into horror movies. When I was, so 1979 was Halloween came out. I was 10 years old. My stepfather was working at a liquor store, and he used to take me, and we used to eat Tombstone frozen pizzas in the back. And I remember that as a kid. And I used to help stack beer and stuff. And that was his second job he would do to make some extra money for us. we used to sit in the back, and one of my buddies came up with his father and said, hey, you want to go to a movie over in Michigan City, Indiana? And we were in LaPorte, which is about 30 minutes away. I said, yeah, I'll go. And I begged my stepdad, can I go? Can I go? I'm 10 years old. It's me and my buddy who's 10. He takes us to Halloween in 1979. I mean, we had no idea what was going on. In fact, they had a sex scene in it. And I asked him, are they wrestling? He goes, yeah, they're wrestling. We didn't even know what that was. So that kind of turned me on to getting scared because that movie was intense in 1979 as a 10-year-old. And so since then, I've been a horror movie junkie. So it's pretty funny. Well, it's great to see everybody. As always, I really appreciate you being a part of the channel. It's a community more than a channel. I'm going to try to get back to this regular schedule at 1 p.m. We're going to expand it into some other areas. Maybe I'll even talk about some of the fiction I'm reading, and we'll see. We'll see what YouTube likes. We'll see what the community likes, and I'm going to do my best to keep producing content, obviously about these devices. We got some great reviews coming up, but also some areas that will help you and allow us all to connect a little more, which is what this is about. So let me get some water and I'll end it. And if anybody doesn't have anything else, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate the thumbs up. If you're watching the replay, thank you for supporting us, and go have a fantastic day. And if you want something, hey, jump in the comments and just say, hey, JB, what about this or what about that? I don't even care. If it's about baseball, I don't care. Let's have some fun on this channel. That's what it's about. All right. Go have a great rest of the day. Have a great evening wherever you're at in the world. Maybe it's your morning. Could be the middle of the night. Go have a great one. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I appreciate you. And we'll see you back here on the channel. Bye, everybody. Thanks.